Hi everyone, my name is Sergey Gusev, welcome to my channel. Today I will continue talking about portrait painting and show how to paint a child's portrait using only a palette knife. Right now I'm mixing a color for the initial sketch. I'm using yellow ochre, burnt sienna, a bit of ultramarine. And let's start working on canvas now. You see the source picture I'm gonna use. And while painting, I'm going to talk about my own approach to painting. Because I know that lots of beginners don't know how to paint, how to start out painting. They don't know if they should copy what they see or not, because there are different tutorials on YouTube. A lot of different information, different approaches, and all of them can confuse beginners. So in this video I want to give you my own answer and explain why. So you see that I start out from painting big spots. Usually I like to start from dark ones because it is easier to see the dark color, and in my opinion it is a little bit more difficult to paint skin tones, lights of the face, especially when we have a white canvas, blank canvas. Skin tones are also really light and it is difficult to see them on white canvas. So it makes sense to surround the face with darker tones, paint in the backgrounds, clothes, hair, then start working on the shadow of the face, and only after that start working on the lights of the face. So you can see that I'm not going to make any underdrawing or underpainting. I start from big abstract spots and I don't care for anything. I even don't care for proportions or likeness. You know, I'm playing with colors, with spots, textures, do whatever I want and how I feel. So actually, here is my tip, my advice. You don't have to follow any advices. You should do exactly what you feel, what you want, because it is art, and art means to express yourself, show your feelings about an object or subject. So when you start working on anything, you should decide what you feel and what you want to say. And if you don't feel anything, if it is really boring for you, maybe it is a sign to change what you want to paint. Look for another object or subject. Find something interesting, maybe colors, maybe contrast, maybe spots, light, anything. It has to be interesting for you to paint, to work on this art piece. You don't have to follow any advices, any instructions, anything. It has to look exactly how you feel it. Because in my opinion, art, it is what we feel, and it's more like about emotions than our mind. Of course, the best way is to have some rules in your head, like basics, especially drawing basics. Remember about the light source, proportions, light and shadow, tonal values and so on. But you don't have to follow these rules directly when you work. You keep them in mind, but on the canvas you try to make something personal, individual, something that belongs to you, something that can show what you feel and who you are. That is why I think the best way is to start out from painting big abstract spots, have some mass on the canvas, and sometimes I put paints directly on canvas. I don't use any palette. I think I showed this approach in one of my videos, so you can do the same and just play with colors, with textures, with values, and do exactly what you want, what you feel, without following any strict rules at all. I think that we should have fun, positive emotions when we paint. We definitely should not be bored. So if you feel that you are bored, it is a sign to change something, to change your approach, have some fun. Make it less realistic, maybe make the backgrounds more interesting, more alive. Because sometimes it is difficult to paint a portrait face using a palette knife, but you can use this technique in the backgrounds or clothes or hair, just to make it more interesting, more individual, and make your painting look different from what others do. You see that right now I begin to work on the lights of the face. Again, I'm painting only with the palette knife. I'm not going to use any brush. And again, I'm looking for a big spot. So I don't care for details, but I care for the big silhouettes, big proportions, big forms, and big spots of light and shadow. Again, you don't have to copy exactly what you see. If you want to make your painting bright, do it. If you want to add more contrast, do so. It's exactly what you want, what you like, what you prefer. If you're using a picture, use it as a reference. So take the proportions, likeness, composition maybe, but fill it out with your emotions, with your passion. So when we look at your painting, we understand what you felt while working, how interested you were working on this art piece. If we see something really flat, inexpressive, we can think that the artist was really bored while working on this art piece. And in my opinion, that's a bad sign. So you see that this tutorial is more about philosophy than basics, though I think philosophy and rules, drawing rules, are very much connected to each other, because we're creating art pieces and we can't create anything new if we only follow our mind or someone's rules, someone's suggestions. I know that beginners are usually a little bit scared of painting something like this, something sort of abstract but still realistic, impasto. I think you should face your fears and just start doing something like this. Even if it doesn't look realistic at the end, believe me, you'll get a big experience, really important experience and new skills. You'll overcome your fear of painting, and this is more important than making something really detailed and copying eyelashes, highlights and hair and so on. So when you paint like this, you don't have to care for the results, you don't have to think about results. You know, it's more like an exercise to train yourself to look for new color combinations, to make experiments, to work with big spots, combine abstract and realistic painting, and to look for your own style. You can always go back, take a smaller canvas, and make a small study, very detailed. You know, make a sort of copy of what you see. But I'm sure that once in a while you should paint something like this, maybe once a week, you know, quick and finished paintings, lively paintings. Maybe you don't have to care a lot for the drawing side, you don't care a lot for proportions, likeness. Have some fun, make some mess, express yourself, and remember that painting should bring you joy and positive emotions. So the process shouldn't be boring. I know that many beginners, and not only beginners, believe that painting means something finished, full of details, likeness, correct values and so on. And this is correct, of course. But from the other hand, if we all make the same sort of paintings, all paint them really detailed, really finished, it's not gonna look really personal, in my opinion. So of course the best solution is to combine both approaches and combine realistic art, finished on details, eyes, nose for example, work on the likeness and achieve good likeness. But at the same time, we should not forget about our own style, and we shouldn't forget that painting means exactly what you feel and who you are. So the best solution for my opinion is to combine realistic and abstract, because this way you will be able to create something unique, something interesting to look at. So, if you are scared to paint like this, but if you really want, you should do this. Just paint something abstract, and maybe not a portrait, but a still life or a landscape. Because portrait, sometimes it's a little bit difficult for beginners to paint portraits, and you need some skills, you need some experience, but you can paint a landscape, for example, and just have some fun, work with textures, spots, colors, contrast, and try to look for your own style. So to feel what you like and what you want to create. Forget about rules, about what you heard, about what you were told to do, and try to follow yourself. And you see how it works. So we started out from an abstract painting, from a mess on canvas. And now it turns out to be more realistic, to look like the girl from the source picture, right? So you see that we always can go to realistic painting. We can always change it to something more finished, more detailed. And right now I'm working on the details, still using a palette knife. So you see, it's not something super difficult. We can always go to the details. And if you want to make something really finished, you can even take a brush and work after palette knife, work with your brush and add more details, make the painting more realistic. But you will still keep the textures you got with the palette knife. And this will make your painting more picturesque, more painterly looking, more artistic. Because, you know, there are studies and there are art pieces, and they're a little bit different from each other, because when we work on a study, we mostly learn some basic rules, learn how to draw, how to work on the eyes, how to complete details of the face. But if we want to be an artist, we have to do something more than just basics. So I'm not saying to forget about the rules, but I'm saying that you should combine them and first of all be an artist and be yourself, follow your wishes, your feelings, your emotions, and show them on canvas. So anyone looking at your painting will understand who you are as an artist and what you wanna say to the world. And right now I'm working some more on the likeness, so you see that I go back to the drawing side, to the drawing basics, and try to adjust the facial details to add more likeness into the face. But still, I do not copy what I see on the picture. I add some more color, some more contrast, and of course I work a lot on the textures. I still remember that the light source is cold, so the light parts of the face and the light parts of everything is going to have a cold tint, and the shadows are going to be slightly warmer and of course darker. You see that the rules are still there in the painting, but they are not primary. I still remember that the shadow on the side surface of the nose is going to be much darker than on the side surface of the head, because it is closer to the light source. And here you see how to combine realistic approach and abstract, how to combine drawing basics, fundamentals of drawing, and your own style, your own feelings and emotions about the subject. I know maybe it sounds too complicated for you, and that's okay, you don't have to follow my rules. Again, you should follow your own feelings. But I think that art is more than just rules made by other artists from the past, for example. We definitely should remember them, but they are not that important. They're not as important as your own artistic way of painting, of thinking, of feeling. And again, in my opinion, when we paint, we should have positive emotions. We should get joy, happiness. And so, if you really enjoy the process, you are definitely on the right way, even though the result might look a little bit unfinished, not so detailed, or even abstract. That is not the main point of painting. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments down here what you think, how you prefer to paint, and if you like this style, if you like this idea of combining different ways, and if you like to express yourself, if you believe that it is more important than following the rules made by other artists. Remember to have enough paints on your palette, because when you paint like this, you're like a sculptor. You sculpt, you work on the big form, and you definitely need to have enough paints to be able to create a volumetric portrait. And it is also a really nice feeling to work on this kind of painting when you have a lot of paints, when it's impasto, when you work with textures, when you feel the paints. And again, you will get such a great experience working like this. You will understand so much how to work with textures, how to work with thin layers, with really thick layers. So I highly suggest you to try it out, even if you do not like to paint with a knife and you like to finish more and work on the details with brushes. That's okay, but once in a while I'm sure you should try this way of painting. You'll have a lot of fun, a lot of joy, and get really amazing skills. When I need to work on the details, I work with the tip of the knife. It's very comfortable to draw with the tip of the knife, to correct silhouettes, add some details, and actually you can make a really detailed painting using only a palette knife. So if you're really interested in this technique, you should definitely try it out, and I'm sure you will enjoy it a lot. Right now I'm working on the details, but of course I have to keep in mind the big form, the big volume of the head. Remember that the planes which turn to the light source will be lighter, So remember to make the forehead lighter, the nose and cheekbone, which is closer to the light source, make them lighter and slightly cooler. And you can notice that the cheek, which is further away from the light source, is slightly darker and also warmer. So again, we remember about the main basic rules and care for the tonal values. Let's work on the hair. Remember that the hair has a volume as well. It turns to the light source, it gets lighter, turns away, gets darker. It's a very simple rule which works everywhere. If you look at the reference picture, you will notice that the hair, especially its shadow part, is looking really dark, not really interesting, not picturesque, and sort of black, or at least really dark and really close to black color, which is not really nice, not really interesting, and I don't really like it, so I change it as I want. I add more colors. I add some warmer colors like burnt sienna, a bit of ultramarine, even a tiny bit of cadmium red, but I still care for the tonal values, and the shadow stays a shadow, so it's much darker than the lights. Right now I'm getting close to the end and I spend more time on the details. Again, I'm using the tip of the knife because it's really comfortable to correct the silhouettes of the beak form and of the facial details. And you see that the portrait is looking now a little bit more realistic, more detailed, but still personal, not like a picture, not like a photograph. So I really hope that this video was interesting and helpful for you. I really hope that I inspired you to take palette knives and paint something like this, a little abstract, a little unfinished, but more alive. Play with textures, with colors, have some mess on your canvas. And I really hope that if you are a beginner, now you understand that your painting doesn't have to look like a photograph or look like something you were told or you heard about. And I hope that now you understand a little better that it's really important to be personal. It's really important to remember who you are, what you feel, and try to express yourself while painting, because art is a continuation of who we are and of our souls. That is why you, of course, have to follow some rules from one hand, remember about some basic rules, but they have to be secondary compared to your feelings. Okay, right now I'm going to finish this painting. If you like this video, you can help me out and share this with your friends on your favorite social network. Put thumbs up if you like it and leave your comments down here. I read them all. Don't forget to subscribe to my accounts on Facebook and Instagram. And of course you can find more information about portraits in the full video tutorials, which are available on my webpage. The links you can find in the description box. I wish you good luck with your artworks, guys, and see you soon in my next tutorial. Thank you a lot for watching.